This episode is sponsored by Relogic Research. Relogic is an engineering, aerospace, and technology company dedicated to solving our nation's toughest defense problems while investing in the bright minds of Huntsville. Relogic is excited to be a part of the innovation and continued growth of the Huntsville community. Visit their website today to see what they are excited about at relogicresearch.com, and all of this information will be in the episode notes.
This is Chandra Wicks, founder and CEO of Relogic Research. We are very excited to partner with Beyond Rockets in further support of their already outstanding contribution to the Huntsville community.
Well, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm excited you're here today. Would you like to introduce yourself and we'll get started there?
I am Chandra. Last name is Medellin, and I own the Fitzgerald.
Awesome. So before we kind of dive in and talk a little bit about what the Fitzgerald is, talk a little bit about your background. So I know you're from the Huntsville area. Talk about what it was like growing up here in Huntsville, and did you always imagine that you would end up staying here and have a business here?
I am from out in the county,
Okay.
so I'm a Hazel Green girl.
Perfect.
Graduated from Hazel Green, and then ended up going to school at UNA, got my BFA at UNA, and then ended up, I didn't think I would be back here, but ended up moving back here.
Yeah.
Worked on the Arsenal for a little bit as a graphic designer, as everyone here
Everyone's
in
on the
here in
Arsenal.
Huntsville has a tie to the Arsenal.
For sure.
And then got into retail and did a lot of retail. I ended up being the visual lead for Anthropologie for years, and kind of traveled around with them and opened up stores and was the visual,
But all based out of Huntsville.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So traveled around with them and opened up new stores and did the visual stuff for that, which I loved. And then while I was at Anthro, I started taking Pilates and fell in love with it. And after I left Anthro with my second child, my mentor, Jenny, who I learned all of the Pilates from, reached out to me and was like, hey, have you ever thought about teaching? And I was like, no, never thought about that. That would be interesting. And so my journey with Pilates kind of started with her. At the time we were with Johnson & Hayes. Johnson & Hayes had a Pilates studio in their business. And so I started with them and with Jenny, and just thought, I kind of feel like I can build something that's similar to this, but geared a little bit towards my peer group.
Yeah.
When I was with Johnson & Hayes, I did a lot of work with what we used to call broken people who had pretty severe injuries, or people that were kind of up there in age. And I just thought, I really think that this can be something that my peer group can enjoy.
Yeah.
So the idea of the Fitz was kind of born out of that. I just thought I could do something
a little differently than what was already being produced.
Precisely.
So I guess they were using it for more of like rehabilitation.
Yes.
Kind of like any injury, you were using Pilates to kind of get you back to a norm.
Right.
Okay. And so beyond just what Johnson & Hayes offered is for Pilates, were there other Pilates studios in the area? Or
there's several Pilates studios in the area. The majority of them are much smaller than the Fitz. We are one of, I think we probably host the biggest group classes. We host 12, 12 clients in our class at a time. Yeah. The majority of them are 3, 4, maybe 6.
So it's more of an intimate experience from other studios, but you were wanting to bring in a bigger group to kind of have this.
Group fitness. I love the energy.
For sure.
So that's kind of exactly what.
And so around what year when did you start getting into Pilates? Because I guess the Fitzgerald is celebrating its, just now 9 years of operation.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you first kind of get into Pilates as something that you enjoyed? And then how long was the gap between, getting introduced to Pilates to then saying, I should open my own Pilates studio?
I think probably, my youngest daughter was born 2011. Probably in 2012 is when I started training with Jenny. And then when I started teaching, I just found one of my oldest notebooks. I write all my classes, and it was dated 2014. So I think I started teaching around late 2013, early 2014.
And then 2015 is when you launched the Fitzgerald.
And then I guess so.
So it was a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, it was a quick turnaround.
From you saying, someone saying, I think you'd be good at teaching this, to saying, let me actually then create a studio that offers these, having this new perspective on what you thought Pilates could be here in Huntsville.
Yeah, it was a big jump.
What was that? Did you have any sort of entrepreneurial itch prior to this?
Yes, always.
Always had an entrepreneurial itch.
Always. I've always wanted to own my own business.
Can you trace back to a moment that you first had that itch, or do you think it was just something that's always been sort of ingrained in you?
I remember as a kid having little businesses. I mean,
always willing to sell something.
Always. We would like make, my friend Stephanie and I would make shirts and with like puff paint, and the socks would match, and we would go around the neighborhood and sell. I mean, I've always wanted to have a business. Always. I've always had that. I've always wanted to do things the way that I want to do them. So
do you think that once you got your degrees at UNA and you came back and you were working on the Arsenal, that, it just seemed like what everyone else did? Like everyone comes back to Huntsville to get an Arsenal job. They have that nice 9-to-5, great benefits, great retirement, and that's what you were wanting to do?
No, it was not.
It was just.
I remember,
but it was just kind of like you were just kind of thrown into that.
Yeah, it was like, I had an art degree, and I was kind of freelancing I got my degree in photography. So I was kind of freelancing as wedding photographer, which was terrible. I just didn't enjoy it. And then I just thought, I've got this degree and this is what I love to do. And how can I make somewhat of a living at this? Of course, I was early 20s.
But also enjoy the job that you're doing and enjoy the 9-to-5.
Yes. And, but I remember the first day I sat down in my little cubicle, I truly cried because I thought, this is not where I need to be. But it served its purpose, and I met, a lot of wonderful people.
And I would assume potentially some of those people you met at those jobs maybe even clients at the Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean, like.
Oh, yes. We have tons of Arsenal people. Yeah,
so you get ready. You're saying, hey, I've started teaching. A year later, let's make my own Pilates studio. What was the first step in saying, like, let's look for space? Like, how did you go about that? Because it's one thought to say I had this idea to make my own studio. It's another thought to say I've actually got the lease of a space to make this my studio. Yeah,
it was. I started with a business partner, and we really started in the basement of my house. I mean, I started this in the basement of my house. I mean, I started at 5 a.m. every morning. I had 6 machines down in my basement, and I taught classes from 5 in the morning until 5 in the evening, and I knew that I wanted to have a studio. And so then we started looking for spaces, and we ended up taking a space over there. There's an emergency vet's office there now. It was on the corner of, it used to be the old, oh goodness, what was the name of that?
Is it right there where Joseph Lowry Boulevard is?
Yes.
Okay.
It used to be like a little like toy shop.
Oh, wow. Oh, yes. Okay.
So we were the first ones in there. And so that building had to be completely gutted and renovated.
To make the space that would be the Fitzgerald.
So we were in the basement for a good year to maybe 18 months. I mean, we were in there for a long time. And the business
was probably, I would assume, was growing because you were getting ready to then actually have a space. So
so it was just word of mouth. And I had, once we finally opened the doors to the real studio, I already had a really great client base, some of which I still have to this day, which is huge to me.
So 2016 was that first sort of studio.
April 11th, 2016. Yeah.
Okay. And you were there for up until you moved to Stovehouse, correct? So you were up there up until, I guess, maybe 2 years ago. So 2022, probably 6 years you were at. At the location. Yep. What did that, obviously you get your first brick and mortar is a huge step for any entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It is that moment that you get to see your brand on the door, the signage, you get to create this space from the ground up.
Yeah.
You get to put every blood, sweat, and tear gets to go into this place because it's yours. It is the second extension of your home.
It was amazing.
What was that feeling like, and how quickly did that space become full very quick? And like, you were like, wow, I have to have more and more classes, or we already had to find another space, or did you kind of grow at a good, consistent rate?
We grew at a good, consistent rate. I mean, we grew at a good, consistent rate. We were running about probably between 32, 38. Maybe we would hit into 40 classes a week. Now we run around 56 classes a week. Wow. So we've grown tremendously. definitely needed to move from the space that we were in. The space that we have now, we have the ability to run 2 classes at once. We have a reformer room, and then we also have a yoga room now.
Wow.
So we're able to do that, which is
huge.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, which we need. But we're already feeling really, really tight in the Stovehouse space.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So when you first made the jump into doing it in your basement, were you still doing your other job and kind of,
No.
or did you go full?
It was
hey,
full
this is my
in.
full-time
Yep.
job now. I am doing this.
Because I wrote my training manual, trained all of my instructors, thoroughly, fully trained them down there. It was probably an 8-month training process. So yeah, no, I jumped in.
You were all in.
Yes, both feet, and have been from that day one. Yeah.
Obviously you had that entrepreneurial itch before. You always wanted to do something of your own. Was it scary for you doing that jump, or were you like, this is like a kind of a build-up process to what you always wanted to do, and you were just all excited more than nervous?
It was a build-up. I was ready.
Yeah.
I was like ready to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew exactly what I wanted, and I didn't know exactly how to get there, but I had a really good idea of how to get there. And I had a lot of people that were incredible to work with, you know what I mean? Incredible help. So, it wasn't just me by any means, but I definitely knew exactly what I wanted. I knew what I wanted the voice to be like. I knew exactly how I wanted the fits to feel. And I'm super proud to say that it still feels exactly the same way as I want it to feel, I don't feel like we haven't lost touch, in the
like
almost
that culture
10 years.
element that you built at the beginning is still very present now, even with 50 plus classes.
It is huge to me. The culture part of it is huge. And the day that leaves is the day that I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, that's the biggest part. It's so much more about the culture of that studio and, building a place for all of those girls to be, and they feel safe and they feel seen. That it still feels exactly that.
Yeah. And that's I think that's the testament of a business that'll be around for a while.
Hopefully.
Because I think it's one of those things that's, at any level in a business, as you start growing it, the culture is something that like you hope you can instill that in the people you hire. But at some point, there could be a room for misunderstanding sometimes. And so making sure that you're able to have close grasps on what that culture is, and you're able to portray that. And if something doesn't fit that culture, you're able to kind of not necessarily get rid of that person or thing, but you're able to kind of, you're more aware of it in a timely manner.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so where did the name, the Fitzgerald come from?
Everybody always asks
was
me
that something, did you have other names in mind?
God, I could not figure out what to name this thing.
Okay.
I could not. I knew I didn't want anything like, hardcore or fit. I didn't want anything that sounded like a gym at all, because that's not, again, I wasn't trying to create a gym. I was trying to create a place that myself and my friends would love to come to and hang out.
For sure.
And I saw this chalkboard at this place called the Ace Hotel in New York that I think they have the coolest style. And there was a chalkboard there, and it said, "We fit so well together." I was like, "Oh, I just love that. That's so cool. We fit so well." And then the Z kind of got in, and I don't know. I don't really. It just kind of the Fitzgerald just
organically kind of happened.
Yeah, I love that it has the word fit in it.
Yeah,
I love that it has a Z in it. Yeah. So.
And were you already calling it the Fitzgerald when you were doing it in your basement, or were you just kind of like, "Hey, I'm doing Pilates in my basement. I'm doing this business. Do you want to come do Pilates?"
Yeah, we were already calling it that.
You were already calling it from the day one.
Yeah.
It was the Fitzgerald.
Well, I went through what
what do we call this? Pretty early on, it was hey, the Fitzgerald is it.
Yeah,
and it stuck, obviously.
Yeah.
So with that move from Joseph Lowry Boulevard over there to the Stovehouse, obviously the space is substantially bigger. What did that process look like as far as the build out process and the time frame? I mean, I would assume around the time you opened it was probably not the best time for construction. And so obviously probably the time frames got delayed a little bit more than you would have anticipated. But what was that sort of feeling like in that process like for you, getting ready to build out a space that was probably, was it twice the size of your other location?
The Stovehouse space is about the same.
Okay.
About the same square footage. It's just laid out differently in the in the original location, we had a huge retail shop.
Okay.
And in this space, the retail shop is much smaller, and we've got more actual studio space.
And you were able to kind of design that layout yourself, kind of, or was the layout of Stovehouse kind of what it was there? You just filled it.
So I took over. There was a retail space on the alley, on Gaslight Alley, that was empty. And then there was the space beside that was the Burn Collective. And Heather Murphy, wonderful human being. I don't know if you know her, and Charlie, wonderful, wonderful human being. She ran Burn Collective and decided she wanted to be done with that part of her life. And so, and she and I actually trained together with Jenny. So that's how we knew each other. So I ended up taking that lease space over from her.
Okay.
And it was fairly small because it was just like a little like check-in spot and then the studio. So I ended up taking the retail spot on Gaslight Alley, the middle space that was Burn Collective, and then the next space beside it. So I took 3 suites and combined it all into one big space. Yeah.
Yeah. And so with that move to Stovehouse, do you think the popularity and the growth of Fitzgerald has just exponentially
100%. We had the best year we've ever had last year being at Stovehouse.
And do you think it was just because foot traffic and then just the hustle and bustle of what Stovehouse is?
I think so. Yeah, and our demographic is changing, which is really lovely. We've got a lot more diversity in our client base, which is awesome, and I have always wanted and love having. So yeah, I think definitely just that foot traffic. We didn't have any foot traffic over, on Josephine Lowry. So this was it. I was really, really nervous about the move over there. Very nervous about it. But it has just proven to be amazing. Yeah. Stovehouse has been really great to me.
Yeah. So what does a day in the life look like of someone that owns a Pilates studio? Is it you're there all the time? Do you like what does an average day look like for you?
Well, now that I'm in almost 9 years, I've got an incredible team, like an incredible group of instructors that I think we've got 12, 14 instructors.
Wow.
Yeah. So no, I'm an early morning girl. So I teach 5 and 6 a.m. And it's gotten to where I'm about 2 days a week in the studio teaching. Now that definitely, fluctuates depending on, I'll have instructors who will have to be out for a while with kids, or, instructors that move, or instructors that just decide that, they want to do something else in life. So my schedule definitely fluctuates with that. But no, I have got a great team right now. Everything, I don't have to be there every single day by any means. I mean, my hands are on it every single day. But no, it's, I don't have to be there every single day.
Yeah. I mean, looking at, being having this entrepreneurial itch, having this business now for 9 years, managing people is probably something that most people don't really necessarily get the opportunity to do, like hiring people and, having them be a part of your team. Was that an element of being an entrepreneur and being this business owner that you didn't know much about? Or was there another element you can think of in this 9-year process that you just didn't know how to do it, what to do, and you've had to learn a lot over the last 9 years?
Definitely managing people I don't like to hurt feelings, and I like for everything to be copacetic, and everybody, I don't like to make the waves, but that's been definitely the hardest part of it for me, is managing the people part of it, definitely. But again, I've got just an incredible staff. I can't say that enough. I mean, we have the best of the best in Huntsville for sure.
So if someone's listening and they haven't done Pilates before, how would you describe Pilates to them? And then what would that experience, you say, be like when they come into the Fitzgerald?
Coming into the Fitz is super welcoming. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. It's something that I talk to the instructors about. We talk about it with front desk, staff as well. I never want anyone to ever walk into that space and feel intimidated. That is the biggest thing for me is for you to come in and feel comfortable and to know that, listen, everybody in this studio right now was in the same, was in the same, what's the word I'm trying to use?
Had the same expertise or the same knowledge when they walked in the door as
yeah,
you do
we've
now.
all been in the we've all been in your shoes.
We were all that new person at one point.
Exactly. Yeah. Myself included. And it's so intimidating to walk into something like that, and into group fitness. And notoriously, Pilates has always kind of been a little, snooty and for wealthier white women, honestly. Yeah. And I really am trying to do everything I can to like bash that idea of it. Yeah. I just want any woman who wants to come and move their body safely. This is a place for you to come, period. Like, we don't have any mirrors. Every instructor in there is so incredible. All of our clients are just so cool. Like, I don't know. It makes me smile thinking about them because we just have a great group of people, period.
And I think, like you said, like the fear of sometimes of going into a fitness class that you've never gone into before.
So scary.
And you just you don't want to feel like you're a newbie, but you also know that people there know that you're new.
Right.
But you also you want to have the same experience and have the same benefit that everyone else is getting.
Yep.
And being able to come into a class that, you don't know anything about, but you just wanted to try.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the good things that's over the last few years that's really happened with fitness classes here at Huntsville and in any realm. Is that there's more opportunities to give people the chances to try new things.
Exactly.
Because not every fitness class is for everyone.
Right.
There's classes that I will never go to because it's just not for me. I don't like it. Not that it's uncomfortable because of the environment they've created. Yeah. It's just not for me.
It doesn't feel good in your body. Period.
It's not something that. But I think having the options gives people the chance to kind of learn for themselves what is the right fit.
Right. Right. And I want Pilates to be an option for people.
For sure.
I want it to be, number one, affordable. I remember when I was taking Pilates, holy shit, it was so expensive, so expensive. And I was like, if I'm not going to do something that I can't even afford to do, So
if I'm choosing between eating and doing Pilates, I probably need to have food at the house.
Yeah. Yes. And I tell so many clients this: if you want to be here, I'm going to do whatever I can to make it where you can financially be here, period. Like I will always do that. If someone comes to me and is like, hey, listen, money's tight right now. I really love coming, but I can't afford, what can we do? Yeah. What can I do? What can you do? And if I can do it, most likely I can, then I'm going to make it happen, period. And
I think, I've seen on their website, you have those beginner classes, beginner sort of packages that allow someone that doesn't necessarily has never done it before. They want to try something new. What does that package kind of entail? And kind of if someone is listening and they want to try Pilates, what does that beginner package, that the new client package look like?
It is 2 weeks, unlimited, and it's $67. Okay. So, and I always tell whenever people come in and take their first class, they're like, I'd really love to try it again. I'm always start with the 2 weeks, always start with it. That way you can kind of get a feel for how many times a week you can come. We've got several different class formats. You can take all the class formats, try all the class formats, and see if this is something that works with you, if it works in your body, if it works in your pocketbook, and if it works in your schedule. Yeah. So, and if it does, then I'm going to try to make it happen for you.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned earlier that, the move to Stovehouse was a scary move, but it's obviously paid dividends.
Oh, that's been great.
But you've maybe also kind of reached capacity a little bit there.
Yeah.
What does the future, so we're recording this in the end of March of 2024.
Yeah.
What does the rest of 2024 look like? Is there ideas for other locations? Is there ideas for other concepts? Is there, is it a whole new move? Obviously the Stovehouse has so much foot traffic and is done well. Do you see just having another location here in Huntsville someplace?
I get that question a lot. I get that question a lot. Will you put one in Chattanooga? Can you put one in Atlanta?
Wow.
I would love to do that. I don't know how to do it, to be honest with you, I don't know how to do it and keep it as authentic as it is right now. I would just be scared that I would lose a little bit of what we
you'd almost lose that magic that makes a Fitzgerald what it is.
Now, if there's somebody out there in the world that can teach me how to do that, then I'm definitely open to, it is definitely a conversation that I have in my brain all the time. We would benefit tremendously from another location in Madison, definitely. I just don't know if and when that, I don't know when that's going to happen. Well, it needs to happen for sure. So yeah, but for right now in the Stovehouse location, I'm really trying to expand our schedule more.
Okay.
We are working on adding a 6:30 p.m. to every single day. We started with Tuesdays and Thursdays to see how they would do, and they've done very, very well. I'm also working with a couple of the instructors to create a new kind of mat Pilates format that we can do in that space next to the reformer room, so that we'll be able to have 2 Pilates classes going on at once. And then I'm really looking to expand our rebounding program. Our rebounder is huge and really, really popular. So rebounding is a big thing that I want to expand on. Yeah. It's so much fun, and clients have so much fun with it. So
And I think like you said, over this 9-year journey you've had so far, I mean, you've grown organically in the sense that you've kind of taken things as opportunities come your way rather than trying to expand too quickly. And I think that's a huge testament to just the culture you've created, and that it's still there 9 years later.
Yeah.
And so I think, like you said, there's all these aspirations to go other places, to open other locations. But I think when the timing is ready, I think you'll know, and it'll just be, the synergy will just happen.
Yeah.
If someone's listening and they want to, like we obviously mentioned where the Fitzgerald's is, where can they find you on social media, website, all of that great stuff that they can, maybe book a class and learn more? Yeah,
thefitzpilates.com is the best place to go, or Instagram. I mean, I don't have any TikTok or anything like that, but I'm not a huge poster, but I'm always, I get a lot of messages and stuff through that about classes, so you can always reach me there, contact me there, or just our website.
So, and we'll have all the information in the episode notes, so you can find out links to their Instagram, their websites, and find out more information. But I appreciate you taking the last little bit to talk a little bit about the Fitzgerald, your journey as an entrepreneur. We'll have to have you on in a couple of years. Maybe you have another location. We can talk about that too. But thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep.